Wow, I can't believe we just made it inside. So it only works in 4 low. I don't even know if am I centered? I'm not even close. We'll take it though. Oh my God. Well, that's the start of the video. Welcome to the Jeep Wrangler disaster detail. The 2008 Jeep Wrangler came with a 3.8-liter 202 horsepower V6, 237 pound-feet of torque with either a 6-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic. Now this one came with a clutch, so it's a bit more sporty, and as you know, Jeeps are way more function over form, so removing the interior to clean the car is not really strange. In fact, the floor has drain holes in it for power washing, so detailing this one is going to be right down to the metal. First thing is to power wash the paint to remove as much growth on the surface as possible. You can really see just how much green junk and algae and moss and mildew came off the car because it landed on my floor. Completely crazy. Suntan lotion and shorts all day long and go fishing. No, no, no. Let's live in Antarctica and slip and fall on the ice. Next, I soaked the paint in Boost and foam in the foamer and allowed it to penetrate for a bit before scrubbing the surface to dislodge the algae, the moss, and of course the mold growth. The green stuff is pretty common on cars that either are left outside for long periods of time or the car is rarely washed and dried properly. This clearly is a victim of both scenarios, so if the algae sits too long in certain conditions, it'll actually damage the paint. So now is better than later for a healthy wash. Plus, it's my friend Keith's birthday present, so I'm pretty excited to show him at the end. Up next, I cleaned the wheels, which are in decent shape, all things considering, and I found one of the symbols in the Easter egg hunt. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Jeep, Tesla, Hyundai, and even BMWs have hidden pictures throughout their cars and have become wildly popular on TikTok as owners search around the cars trying to find these pictures. It's pretty cool. Anyways, with everything scrubbed, I power washed again to remove the soap and to see what might be left over to address before polishing. On super dirty cars, using compressed air is a must, as it sort of acts like another form of cleaning than just drying alone. The air blows out trapped areas that your scrubbing may not be able to hit, and I'd argue compressed air is one of the top 3 tools you must have in your detail arsenal. Afterwards, check out how much junk came out onto my floor, and after the 4th floor redo, the pitch allows the water to drain out, but if you have a ton of dirt on the surface, meaning my floor, it's not really going to move. The exact same concept happens with contamination on your paint. The more imperfect your paint surface is, the less you'll see the water move freely across that surface, so keep it clean regularly. We cannot continue with a dirty floor. With my floor clean and the car dry, you can see the sunshade cover is old, dried out, and broken in some areas, so I needed to remove it and tell Keith to get a new one. While I was moving it out, you can check out this black, disgusting water that came out of one of the pipes. It was time to toss this thing in the garbage. With the top off, and because Jeeps are Jeeps, it's now time to remove everything from the interior. Naturally, removing the 2 front bolts of the front seats were super easy, but the back bolts were really rusted badly. So much like Superman, Steve, my buddy from across the street, to the rescue. On a side note, if you don't have neighbors who are highly seasoned mechanics, I suggest you move next to one immediately. After a quick assessment, you can see that the back bolts are just really rusted, so he used a different kind of penetrating oil, a longer torque bar, bigger impact gun, and some time for the oil to do its thing, and then we were in business. Hey.
Sponsored by Tinker Toy Tools.
With that, I removed the carpets and of course found a mouse nest and the driver's side rear quarter panel, which consisted of old newspapers, before removing the rear speaker, the passenger side seat, the driver's side seat, and the remaining carpets. With the rugs out, I vacuumed up the floor to see if we had any rust from long-term moisture exposure and to get all the heavy stuff up before washing. As you can see here, the driver's side footwell had a few spots of rust that needs to be addressed before replacing the carpets. Before I put the vacuum away, I cleaned up the rugs now to avoid clogging up my steam vac later. As I mentioned earlier, the best thing about cleaning Jeeps is you can just pull everything out and then actually power wash the carpets. Now, to do that, I used a mixture of Titan 12 degreaser and Brute in the foamer because I saw a ton of grease stains on the rugs. To do this, first cover the carpet in your cleaner, then scrub by hand or use a power tool before power washing again. Scrubbing to lift the dirt and then power washing to remove it is ideal, but obviously in pretty much every other car than a Jeep, it's not possible because the effort involved in removing the carpets is insane. If you want to see how much time and effort it takes to actually do that on a normal car like a BMW, click the link above to watch the days of work to strip, clean, and to replace the interior. Complete nightmare. Well, that was random. Money. I guess not. Once the carpets are clean but a little bit wet, then I use the vacuum from my wet vac to remove the remaining dirty water. If you do choose to use the power washing technique we just talked about, be sure to wet vac the back side of the carpet or the cushion as well, then allow it 1 to 2 days to dry, and then look at the vacuum water after sucking it all up. Completely disgusting as well. While everything was drying, next I cleaned the dashboard, the radio, the steering wheel, the gauge cluster, the center console, and of course the brake area that was covered in hair and this weird sticky stuff. Some of these areas actually needed heat from the steamer to release whatever was living there for the last 5 years, and I repeated the same steps pretty much everywhere else. To clean up the floors a little bit before I put the carpets back on, I used Frothy in the Pro Foamer. I filled it up with my compressor one time and I was good to go on the entire floor. Now, with respect to the rust spots on the floor, I didn't want to just soak the interior with a power washer, although you could because it's a Jeep. It makes way more sense to use Frothy because it evaporates much faster. Once I was done with the floor and it was clean and it was dry, I then added some anti-rust spray to stop further oxidation. Again, luckily this is all going to be underneath the carpet so no one's going to see it, so it doesn't really need to look perfect, but it does need to slow the rust from breaking through the metal. While I was waiting for the paint to dry, I steam vac the seats by first using a pre-treater, in this case Titan 12 degreaser, because the spots look like fingerprints covered in grease, then shag carpet cleaner for the general areas. Likewise, because the material was in great shape, but of course it was dirty, I used the drill brush dipped in a bit of warm water and detergent to help loosen the stain before using the steam and suction to remove it permanently. If the material you're trying to clean is old or brittle, avoid using the drill brush as this may cause permanent damage. Now check this out. Look at the weird dots on the side of one of the seats. The agitation from the drill was not enough, so I increased the heat by using the steam machine and then the stiff bristle brush before vacuuming, and it worked 10 times better. So keep that in mind if you come across any stubborn stains. It won't work every single time, but it's worth a shot every single time, that's for sure. The next day, with everything dry, I reinstalled the carpets and seats, and the interior looked brand new again. Before I can start compounding the paint, I need to use masking tape because the trim on Jeeps, and especially old Porsches, is so porous that it can be a huge pain in the butt to clean or remove the white polishing stains if you accidentally hit it with your pad. So let the gift wrapping begin. For this paint, I'm using the Rupes 6-inch yellow wool pad, blue compound, and the 21DA. This particular pad is doing a great job at cutting and holding the residue long enough to prevent it from clogging up the fibers too quickly, so my working time is extended. After just one compounding pass, the before and after is substantial, but after polishing with the yellow pad, the difference is night and day compared to the left side. On the side of the doors, underneath the mirrors, there seems to be white stains running down the paint. Now, it looks similar to calcium for those of you taking notes, but either way, they came off with the wool pad. If you encounter this, just make sure you blow out your pad more frequently because the junk is filling up the pad, so you don't want to scour the rest of the paint as you move along. Once the paint was done, I removed the tape and went home for the night. Bright and early the next morning, I covered up the front end of the Jeep and quickly added rust primer and a few coats of chassis matte black to clean up the bumper. Yes, I agree, I should have done this before polishing, but the paint didn't arrive until today and I needed to keep this project going. So wrapping the car in plastic was the next best option to slow the rate of oxidation until the bumper can be replaced in the future. As with most Jeeps on the road, the trim is sun-beaten, dried out, and kind of whitish, so I used Frame Pro trim coating to rejuvenate the faded textured plastic. The before and after is obviously huge, and it adds years to the car's appearance. The towelette is helpful because you can get under the surrounding areas or the tight spots that an applicator pad may not be able to get into. Likewise, if you happen to touch the paint, it's really easy. Simply wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Finally, I applied Reflex Pro to the soft paint. I waited for it to rainbow, and then I removed with a microfiber towel, and I rotated that towel often. While I was waiting for the paint to cure, I found a box with new mirrors in it. Now, this thing was in the trunk a couple of days ago, so I installed these and removed the old broken ones as a surprise to Keith. It was literally 2 bolts and super easy. Afterwards, I reinstalled the rear speakers and cleaned the windows with my squeegee and 3 towels. Finally, I applied mud tire dressing to the Nido Terras, which were bone dry. As a final surprise, I got the birthday boy new Jeep floor mats before the upcoming reveal. Well guys, we're all done and the Jeep looks absolutely amazing. One of my favorite parts of detailing a Jeep is that you can remove everything, including the carpets and the seats and everything, and you have full access to it. So from a nerd detailing perspective, I love that. Plus, it's my buddy Keith's birthday, the guy who owns this. So I gave him some floor mats up front, and then we're gonna reveal it to him. He's coming in the next couple of hours, and I think he's gonna be absolutely shocked. Now look back here, this is really cool. We have a Ferrari 328 GTS, and we have a Datsun and the MG back there. Now we're doing a full length video on each one of these with Kevin and Jason. They're coming in for a couple of days, and they're gonna help me out with a few videos and a few details. So only thing left to do is pull it outside. Let's take a look at it in the sun, and then reveal it to Keith. Hey.
What's happening, pal?
Good to see you. Come on in.
Oh my God.
Happy birthday, bud. It was a little more green than black, but now it's definitely black. It looks good.
God. This is like the best birthday present ever. This doesn't even seem like the same car. This is nicer than the car I drove here.
As always, thanks for watching. Subscribe and be sure to turn on the notification bell to see the Ferrari 328 GTS get some love after 20 years parked in a workshop in an upcoming episode. Thanks again, and see you soon.